to have any sustainable changes or improvements in your life, you have to learn what we call transcending the ego. When you transcend the ego, you open up a realm, you open up blessings, you open up abundance, you open up greatness into your life. And by the end of this video, you will have learned what the ego is and how do you actually transcend it for your spiritual growth, as well as of your mental, physical, emotional, financial, just overall growth and better experience of this life. Now, the ego is also known as the illusion of this realm. Now, the ego is the illusion. Why do we call the ego illusion? Because it is a falsehood. And what is the ego? The ego is a false image or a false identity of who you think you are. And this false image or identity is created by the mind. And this image is created or is being created as you grow up through your past childhood upbringing, through societal conditioning. All these things form this ego. So the ego has identified itself with the objects that you have. It has identified itself with the physical material possessions that you have. It has identified itself with the relationships that you have formed. In other words, the ego has identified itself with this third dimensional reality. And if you know anything about the third dimensional reality, you will know that this realm is the realm of the effect or the realm of the illusion, meaning that the 3D world that you experience is nothing more than a reflection of your own mind. Remember, the mind is the architect of reality, because everything before it is created, it is first perceived as an idea unto the mind. So anything that the mind can perceive, no matter whatever it is a possible reality in other multiple dimensions. So the mind is the architect of reality. So if you have become identified with the 3D world, with what you have, with what you feel, with what you see, with what you taste as being reality, then you are stuck in the realm of the illusion. And when you are stuck into the realm of the illusion, pain and suffering are your portion. Why? Because when you become attached to the illusion, you fail to understand that this physical dimension follows one universal principle known as the principle of rhythm. And the principle of rhythm actually states that everything has a flow. It has an inflow, it has an outflow. It has an upward tide, it has a lower tide. So right now you might be in possession of something, but sooner or later you will have to relinquish whatever it is that you have. That relationship that you are in, that you value so much, it will come a time that you will have to relinquish it. In other words, simply put, anything which you have accumulated in this third dimensional reality, you will have to relinquish. Even your own body, you will have to relinquish it at a certain point. And that is the law of rhythm. But simply because you've become attached to the physical world, you've created an identity around the illusion, then you've created attachment. And attachment is the root cause of suffering. And that is why when you transcend the physical, you collapse the attachment. And once the attachment is collapsed, then you are actually free. And that is why most people go to church to seek that freedom, to seek that oneness with God, not realizing that the scriptures, the Bible, is an esoteric book that has esoteric teachings that can only be understood by people who have ears of understanding. So you realize that nothing is actually real. All of these things that you are experiencing are nothing more than just experiences. And when you are stuck on the ego, you are stuck on the character mode. When you are the character, it means that you think you are the body, you think you are the thoughts that you have, you think you are the emotions that you feel. So when you believe you are the body, you've created an identity around the body. That is why you find that there are some people who have idolized the body in the form whereby when they lose a certain beauty they have, they lose their whole purpose of life. You have people who have created attachment to the objects they possess. So when they lose those possessions, they end up committing suicide, or they even become psychopaths. Why? Because when they are detached from what they were attached to, then they go through pain and suffering. But when you learn the art of detachment, when you learn that everything is simply an illusion of the ego, and then you transcend the ego, you are free from the physical world. You are no longer attached. You are fully detached. And when you are fully detached, you cannot go through pain and suffering, because you understand that I am good with or without a specific thing in my life. And that is what we call true alchemy. So the ego is an illusion. And if you're living based off the ego, you are living an illusion. And how do you actually know if you are living off the ego? This is how you know. Ask yourself, are you seeking material possessions because you believe that they will fulfill whatever you desire or whatever you lack? All of us have that inner desire. We have that inner feeling that there is something out there that is actually going to give us fulfillment. We believe that there is something out there that will give us pleasure, that will give us happiness. And for most of us, we think that money, we think that fame, we think that status, we think that relationships will alleviate us of that inner emptiness, not knowing that that is the main point of this experience, is to learn that there is nothing outside there of your own self that can actually give you that fulfillment. There is nothing out there that can actually satisfy your needs. And that is why you might want to have or own something, and then you end up owning that thing. After a while, you still feel that lack, and then you want something else. When you get that thing that you still want, after a while, then the same feelings recur. Then you feel that emptiness. And people don't realize that nothing external from you can actually fill that void that you feel within. That is the loophole of the ego. And that loophole leads you on to the pursuit of things which are fleeting. And fleeting, I mean that you seek things which are impermanent. And when you seek things which are impermanent, you become attached to them. And then you are stuck in this realm of the illusion. So you have to move up. You have to transcend the ego. So how do you transcend the ego? To transcend the ego is to move beyond the physical. When you move beyond the physical, you connect with the divine. The divine is your true essence. The divine is your true essence. The divine is who you are beyond name and form. And the divine is the source energy, the power of creation, the all, what religious people might call or term as God. And that divine is in each and every one of us, because each and every one of us has a spirit within, because we are actually spiritual beings having a human experience. This can also mean that we are nothing more than just experiencers of our own reality. And when you understand that everything is just an experience, then you step away from identifying with the things that you have, and then instead of seeking identity or comfort from what you have physically, you just experience it. And when you experience it, it means that you also stop labeling the experiences that you have. This also means that you understand that you've been operating from what we call duality. Duality is is simply having polar opposites or polarity. Duality is polarity. Polarity is whereby we have polar opposites. We have good, we have bad, yeah. We have night, we have day, we have masculine, we have feminine. That is what we call duality or polarity. And most people operate from the eyes of polarity and duality. So when something negative happens, people instantly blame it. People instantly label this thing as bad. And once you label something as bad, then that is how you are going to experience that experience as a bad thing. And when you label something as good, then you start chasing, or you start to experience that thing as how you have labeled it, not knowing that what you call bad and what you call good are actually the same thing. The only difference they have is just the rate of vibration. The same way ice and steam are one and the same. The only difference between ice and steam is nothing other than the rate of vibration of steam and the rate of vibration of ice. So when you transcend the ego, simply means that you go back to your natural state of felt oneness with God or the divine or being. And that state means that you no longer seek validation, you no longer seek acceptance from the physical world, because it's all an illusion. It's all your creation. It's your own creation being projected outside of you to experience it. And when you understand this, you stop needing, or you stop identifying with the things that the ego has been identifying with. And once you stop identifying with these things, it means that you've collapsed the need to actually have those things. And once you collapse the need of having something, then you simply open up the door for that thing to come to you. Have you ever wondered why? Maybe you lost a shoe. Maybe you misplaced it in your house, right? Then you searched and searched for that shoe, but you ended up not finding it. Then you just said, I'll let it go. I'll not care about if I find it or not. I'll just go about my day. Then after you're going about your day, you will end up finding that shoe mysteriously. And that is how simply life works. When you stop using your logic part, when you stop trying to control the outcomes of life, and you simply let the flow of life be, whereby you are good with or without, then you are actually giving life permission to unfold right in your presence. And that is simply the magnificent of all this. But still, how do you actually move away from the ego to your truest self? The way to do that is through one thing, and that is the power of awareness. I have created a video about awareness. If you wish to watch the video, just go on my playlist and look for the first law of creation, which is the law of awareness. In that video, I expound much more about the law of awareness and how it impacts our life. But the thing to understand at this moment is that the way to move from the ego is to first notice it. It is to first become aware of it. Most of us are not aware that we are living from the egoic state. And the lack of awareness is what makes us to lose ourselves deeply into that unconsciousness of the ego. So to become aware of the ego is to watch the mind, because the mind and ego are one and the same, because it is the mind that creates the ego. Remember, you are not the mind, you are not the body, you are the observer behind the thoughts and the emotions and the experiences that you are having. So when you begin to watch the mind, when you begin to become aware of your thoughts, of your emotions, of your beliefs, of the identities you've picked up, then you are actually disidentifying from the ego. Then the ego becomes something that is distinct from you. You watch the ego rather than being the ego. And the more you watch the ego, the more you enter the present moment, the power of now. The moment you enter the present moment, you reconnect with your higher self. And by reconnecting with your higher self, you now activate your connection to the higher planes. This means that you will be getting what we call intuitive inspirations. You'll be just seated, something pops up into your mind, it resonates with your intuition, and then you just do what it leads you to do, and then you find that what you are doing unfolds to what you wanted in the first place, and then life becomes a very enjoyable and fun experience for you, rather than something that you fear, rather than something which brings sorrow, which brings pain into your life. And that is simply how you transcend the ego and become one with the divine. If this video has been of help to you, it has benefited you, please make sure you are liking, you are subscribing, and you are also sharing. And if you would love to one-on-one with me in our self-mastery coaching sessions, please message me on the email account I have written down on the description of this video. And I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay blessed, and stay awakened.